Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the universe. Welcome back to another edition of the BNN podcast. It's been a pleasure having you guys around, supporting us like clockwork every Sunday. And today is no different. But the story is different. And I have my guest today, Dr. Darren. Dr. Darren, welcome to the BNN podcast. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Where are you based?
I'm in Ramona, California.
Ah, what's the weather
It's
like?
outside of San Diego.
And the weather?
Beautiful, beautiful and sunny.
So, for my guests who are based in the UK, I do apologize for the beautiful and sunny part. I know you guys are having a bad cold weather out there, so just deal with it. Or you can relocate if you want to. Come move over to where Darren is at in California. Thank you for coming on. Okay. Tell us about yourself. I think let's start about what you do first, and then we'll go into the story.
I'm Dr. Darren Mathena, doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine in California, and I'm a neuroacupuncturist. And my 3-year-old son, suffered a near fatal drowning on June 17th, this summer.
Oh, so this is what you do. This is your background. You are a neuroacupuncturist. What does that actually mean? I understand Chinese medicine and acupuncture, but what does it mean when you say does it mean that you just focus?
So neuroacupuncture is a newer form of acupuncture that was started in around the 60s when we started to learn more about the brain. And it was developed to coincide along with the parts of the brain that you want to stimulate. So it sends electrical signals to those parts of the brain to essentially, in layman's terms, wake up the neural pathways. And so while I was pregnant with Gray, actually, I became obsessed with the brain and neuroacupuncture. And I just felt an intense calling after reading some studies about children with cerebral palsy being able to completely move their limbs without any sort of deficiency. And I thought, how much of a miracle would this be for a caregiver, parent, and their child to grow up and not have to rely on a parent caregiver for the rest of their lives. And so I just started studying it. And even on Gray's first birthday, I went out to do um I brought him with me to go do the second level of training to Albuquerque, New Mexico at the Neuroacupuncture Institute. So we celebrated his first birthday out there. And so then, ever since then, I've been practicing neuroacupuncture and gotten quite good at it. And then when he suffered his accident, I begged his hospital team to let me start working on him because I knew the brain and I knew it did not look good. And I I knew that they were limited on what they could do for him at that time. And so I was just like, just let me try. Let me do what I know so that I can try to help him in any way that I could possibly can. And on the second day I was approved, and then I just worked tirelessly 24/7 helping him. And on day 8 he was out of the ICU. And on day 24 he was discharged from the hospital to go seek outside treatment.
Wow, wow. So, obviously, when you chose to go into this area, you didn't know that life would actually present you with your own child as someone that would need the service. You just thought you were just doing it for the sake of helping others, get better when it comes to the issues of the brain. But then on June 17th this year, correct?
Mhm.
Everything changed, and then your youngest son now happens to be a child that has a brain injury. Tell us about the story. What happened on that day?
I was working and his my children's dad was supposed to be with them, and he said that he had to go do something, so he left them with my friend at her in-laws pool. And I didn't realize that there was going to be only 2 adults and 8 children. I thought her in-laws would at least be there. I thought somebody would check out the situation and let me know. Um, I was working my 12-hour day, seeing 16 or 17 patients that day, and and I got the call towards the end of my day, an hour after he was dropped off, saying that he had drowned and that I needed to go to the hospital. And I actually have a video right when I found out, and I gave myself 15 seconds to freak out, and then you can see me go right back inside myself, and I'm just like, "Okay, this is what we need to do, and I need to go." And it was and ever since then, that's how I've been. I've just been in this mode of, "We need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this." Even in the hospital, I didn't let myself fall apart because he needs me to be strong for him. And anybody who fell apart, I asked them to kindly leave the room because I was just like, he needs strength around him. He needs
The
people
right
that can be
energy.
strong for him.
Yeah, the right energy. Yeah, yeah. Wow, wow. I know the other kids. How the other kids doing?
They're doing so much better with his improvements.
Okay.
Uh, the the first the first month that we were home, my second son, my 6-year-old, wouldn't even look at or talk to Gray. And they they are best friends. Like, they did everything together. They even like they refused to sleep in separate beds. They wanted to sleep next to each other every night. And so it was really hard on my 6-year-old, but as Gray started to, like, when he gained back his sight and could look at him again and start to connect with him, he started talking to him again, and he started playing with him again. And so as Gray improves each and every day, it's healing my older kids.
Uh, I can imagine at that young age they will not know how to respond. They don't know how to deal with the whole situation. This is our brother. How come he can't talk? He can't do this. He can't play. But I'm glad to hear that gradually, as he's healing, they're responding and giving off that right energy in the room to allow Gray to also connect to back to the family and the structure he's used to. What? How about you? How are you? Because you've put on this the hat of a doctor and you went straight into it to that savior role. Have you had time to grieve? Have you had time to process? How is not Dr. Darren? How is Darren doing?
Uh, it's tough because as a mother, you're not really allowed to have that time often. So on the very small instances, like in the beginning, I used to cry a lot when I would drive him to and from appointments and just grieve this old life that I had. And I I wrote a couple things up on it, and then put them on my TikTok account on days that were especially hard. And those like intrusive thoughts that come up, and just wondering if anything I'm doing is working. Like, when you're doing something that takes a long time to see results, you're just sitting there like, is what I'm doing matter? Like, does it matter? Like, what am I even doing right now? And so, as like, I have the most amazing friends. So I would send them all of these things, and they're like, "Darren, you're crazy. He is improving." Like, you just don't see it because you're right there.
That's right.
And so I would just be like, okay, okay. And like I've had my friends hold me up this entire time. Um, they have just been incredible. And so I've gotten a little bit of time to grieve, but it still comes up where, you know, I'm sad about the fact that he was running and climbing things and asking me to brush his hair and to put his hair up in buns and braids and now he needs me to anticipate his every need. And so it is a grieving process because it is an entire burning down of like an old life that I'll never return to. We have to we have to rebuild a new life in order to thrive in this one
Mm,
now.
mm, mm. Well, I like the way you put it. We have to build a new life in order for us to thrive in the world that we live in now. Whew. Um, what would you say to anyone who is going through the same process right now? What would you say
Oh,
to, if there's a mother out there whose child is going through some kind of recovery? What would you say to them? I think this is a good place to ask that question.
I have actually had this conversation 3 times with moms out there whose children went through something similar, and I told them to immediately seek hyperbaric oxygen therapy. To I point them towards resources, neuroacupuncture, hyperbaric oxygen, and like if they don't have access to those resources, I point them to the famous doctors that can help them.
What
And
sorry, Darren, what is hyperbaric oxygen therapy?
hyperbaric
You're
oxygen,
saying that we know, but those of us we don't know. So
yeah, hyperbaric oxygen therapy is um like basically bringing your body under pressure and giving your body oxygen while it's under pressure, which it's easier to absorb and easier to go to the brain. And there's a lot of studies by Dr. Paul Harch in Louisiana where he has one study which is the study that I read in the hospital and that I held on to the whole time, where the child completely regenerated her brain tissue. And it's the first documented case of that ever happening. And so I had reached out to her mom and asked her, like, what do I do?
hmm,
And then there was another case of a child that worked with Dr. Harch, and I reached out to his dad, and his dad gave me a lot of resources. And so it's just about like I just pieced together so many resources and then added my own twist on things as I do as a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine.
wow. So gradually, you're forming your own tribe of people who can identify with your journey so far. You begin to see other families who have gone through things. Does that give you a sense of encouragement, knowing that this is not the first, you're not alone? You talked about your friends. That support system, does that help in this journey?
Yes. I knew by starting my channel that I knew, like, because you see the people that give a lot of near fatal drowning parents a lot of hate,
Mhm.
um, and I knew that that was going to be a part of it. Um, so I went into the channel that I made knowing that I was going to receive a lot of hate and backlash, but also knowing that the outcome that they were going to see, that the fact that the brain is so much more than we actually know, like it can do so much more than we actually know. Um, I knew that Gray's healing journey was going to change lives and give people hope
Wow.
because there's so many people out there that just don't have the resources or they don't know and they need something to hold on to and see the little changes because it is a 24/7 process to help these kids heal and to help the brain heal. So if we just continue maintaining that stride every single day, then we can give these kids the life that they deserve in the future.
Wow. When we come back from our break, I'm going to talk about the. I have other questions, but let's talk. I'm going to talk about the hate and the backlash, and why you had to anticipate that first. Going in, and what do people think about these things when they happen? Because I mean, it's easier for someone to say, "Yeah, you should have been there," and all that stuff. And but we're going to take a break, and when we come back from that, we'll quickly discuss that. Okay. Welcome back to the BNM podcast. My guest today is Dr. Darren Mathena, who is actually the mother of a young child who has a brain injury. Dr. Darren, welcome back to the BNS podcast. Before we went on our break, you and I were talking, and you mentioned something about when you started putting your journey together, that you were anticipating a lot of backlash and hate that you might receive from people. What was that all about, and why did you think that was going to happen?
Well, whenever a child drowns, people seem to want to blame people. Like, why weren't you watching him? Well, I was at work. And, people want a mother that works, then they want a mother that doesn't work, and then they want us to fit into all these rules, but also be perfect all the time and always there for our kids. And then the split custody situation where, like, sometimes I don't have control over where my children are at any given time. And so that's also another factor. And I was also anticipating the disability backlash. A lot of people don't like it's sad to say, but a lot of people don't like seeing children with disabilities. And I've noticed a lot of eugenic type comments in my comment section. Like, you should have taken, you should have pulled the plug. And things, just really ugly things like that. Um, and some of these are healthcare workers saying this. And so or like them telling me that my son is going to get an infection and die. And so I'm like, wow, like the just like the ugliness that comes out of people because they have a screen behind them
Mm.
is just insanity.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, but that is the reality of how some people out there think, which is pretty sad. I work. My day job is I work with children and families with hidden disabilities, especially neurodivergent children and adults with autism. Actually, so I know what it is to be fully engaged and ensure that you give them everything they need, and you're doing a great job. I just want to applaud you, just in case if nobody else is, and keep
Thank
on
you.
doing what you're doing. The world needs the likes of Dr. Darren, and just want to encourage you right now that keep on doing it, because I bet you with all the hate that you were getting, you got a lot of love too. Correct?
Yes, more so now. Um, when people started to see his improvements, they
Mm,
were like, "Oh, that's why."
yeah.
Because she can do it. She
That's right.
wasn't just delusional.
Well, that's good news. That's good news. And how is he doing? What kind of signs? What are the little signs you're seeing that gives you that glimpse of hope and
Oh
joy?
my
Yeah, I know the
God.
happy moments.
First it was the vision coming back. You could see the muscle tone in his eyes regain control, and he could see you. He could track his vision. Then it was yelling. He was able to yell again, like back to babyhood screaming. He's able to grasp onto things with his lips. He's able to chew. He's getting he's able to stick out his tongue now. The other night I was doing neuroacupuncture on him, and I was just doing what I always do, singing to him, asking asking him what Gray Gray says, and I was like, "What kind of noises does Gray Gray say? Does he say ooh? Does he say ah? Does he say eh?" And and he went, "Eh," and I
Oh,
was like, and I almost cried. I was like, "What does Gray Gray say?" He said, "Eh." And that was the first intentional focused vocalization he's ever made since his accident, and he is trying so hard. And I got him to do it a couple more times that night, and then he passed out for 6 hours. And, but I keep him working so hard. He's able to follow directions when it comes to, like, sticking his tongue out, when it comes to putting his leg down, when, and he's able to swallow on command, but it's just about working with him every single day.
wow. Motherhood
Yeah.
has completely changed around you. How do you balance that with everything else going on in your world? Let's talk about motherhood.
Oh, I used to have a full-time nanny, uh, and so that I could work and support my children full time. I never took child support before, um, and so I supported all three of my sons on my own and had them most of the week, every week, and didn't have any family money, I didn't come from wealth. I came from, uh, Albany, New York. So, I joined the Navy because I was too broke after college to pay off my college. And, so, like, I have I remember I had a conversation with my friend, my best friend, and she's like, "Well, what are you gonna do about childcare? Like, what are you gonna do?" And I was like, "I think it's time for me to stand on my own. I think it's time for me to not have anybody helping raise my kids. I think it's time for us to reconnect, and it's time for me to restructure my life around this accident so that I can help my kids heal and also just be a new form of mother that I was always told I couldn't be."
Mm. And what does that restructuring look like? The restructuring of your life
Mm,
now.
It
What does that?
means
Mhm.
I am trying to start a nonprofit,
Okay.
for children with brain injuries to get them hyperbaric, and neuroacupuncture. So my friends and I are playing with what that looks like right now. I'm
Okay.
also trying to move a lot more of my work online. So I'm figuring out how to restructure that way as well.
Mm.
And educationally, I'm a professor at an acupuncture college. So
Okay.
I do that online every Thursday.
Oh
And
wow.
um and so I love teaching. So you'll see it in a lot of my videos. I'm telling people how brain injuries work with the body and why it does certain things and how acupuncture works. I love teaching. I love clarifying questions.
Wow. Okay. That's good. Wow. You talk about the brain and how powerful the brain is. As a professor, now you love teaching, so I have my question. Take a few minutes. I know we don't have a full class here. To talk to our audience who are watching. How powerful is the brain when it comes to recovery?
Well, if you think about it, we know as much about the brain as we knew about the heart in the 60s.
Okay.
So we still don't know everything we should, or even how the brain heals. We know it can heal. We know people have recovered from brain injuries, but we don't quite know how. So it's so entirely complex that like things like neuroacupuncture helping is just it's insanity. Like it just um that's why I became fascinated with it because we know almost nothing,
Wow.
not enough. And there are
Oh.
so many neurotransmitters, and even in autistic kids, they're finding out that we don't prune our neurotransmitters as children like neurotypical children do.
Right,
Like
right,
that's why we have sensory issues.
right.
Um, so I'm thinking because I'm autistic and my children are most likely autistic, I'm thinking maybe Gray has more neurotransmitters in his brain that aren't going to be pruned. And I was like, maybe he'll just be a little bit more normal later,
Hmm, hmm.
like less less neurodivergent, which I, I love my neurodivergent kids. They're so
Yeah,
fun and interesting
yeah.
and just
Very interesting. That's the word. That's very interesting.
I'm
Yeah.
like they're so like they have so many interesting ideas and complex thoughts and I love having conversations with my kids because they're just so cool.
Did,
But
did you
yes,
say did you say that you two you're on the spectrum? Did you say that? Did I hear you
I
say that?
am.
Oh,
Yeah.
you are already. Okay, great. So, how did you find out about your diagnosis? Was it when you were younger?
Well, I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 19,
Wow.
after struggling my entire life. And then I realized later on that I was just like, it's more than ADHD. And
Mhm.
then I went to a psychiatrist and I was like, it's definitely more than ADHD. Like when I was like, it feels like things are fighting against each other. And
Mm,
so, like as a kid, I was always very particular. Um, and I was always very quiet. And in girls, it gets underdiagnosed because a lot of the autism spectrum disorder qualities in girls are favorable in society, like quiet, introspective, head in the clouds, just um like I was always I had a lot of trouble regulating, but I would go into my room and just stay alone all the time and read books and just not socialize. Like when I think one time I got grounded and I was like, "Oh, sweet. I don't have to go anywhere. I can just stay home." Okay, cool.
wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Well, at least that's also going to inspire someone who just watched you speak and share your story. I never knew that was going to come out in this interview. That's why I love these interviews. I go in thinking one thing and something else great happens. So there is someone out there watching those Darren. Just believe there's always hope. She just told you she's on the spectrum. So if you have a child or a loved one, just know that there is hope. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I truly appreciate it. We're coming to the end of the podcast, like I said to you earlier on. However, we have two things we do towards the end. One of them is what we call a drop-off question, right? And then the drop-off question is whatever the last guest had dropped off, not knowing who's coming in. And I'll tell you a little bit about my last guest in a few minutes, and you can understand why he dropped the question. And then you would now have to come up with your own question on what the next guest should whatever you want to ask the next guest, whoever the person is. We don't even know what part of the world they're going to come from and background. We don't even know their gender, nothing. But you just ask a question, and they will have to answer it. So my last guest, his question was very simple. But before ask the question, let me tell you about his story a little bit. He's now a single dad. He was a husband a few minutes ago, and lost every member of his family in an accident. His wife, his son, his daughter, um, his brother, the nephew, all died in a pileup in a crash, and he only had one child that survived it. He was not there because he had a new job, so he had to go for that job, and the rest of the family got involved in this terrible accident. It's a very. You can go back to the podcast of last week and watch Mason's story. Um, um, so Mason's question was very simple: to be or not to be, and that's the question for you, Dr. Darren.
We have no choice but to be.
Wow. That's a very, very powerful answer. Thank you. And so what would be your drop-off question for the next guest?
In what way can you show kindness without speaking?
In what way can you show kindness without speaking?
Mm-hmm.
Woo! See, these questions are getting powerful as the day comes by. Like, wow. Wow, that's a big one. Okay. So the question for next week's guest is, in what way can you show kindness without speaking? So Zara, let me ask you a question. If someone said to you, broken and not shattered, what would that mean to you based on where you are right now?
I'm going to repeat something that I said at my dad's funeral. To me, it means I will rise and grow like a daisy blooming in the snow.
Say that again.
I will rise and grow like a daisy blooming in the snow.
Wow. Wow.
Because even though it's not supposed to grow,
yes,
it still does, and it thrives.
Wow. So Darren, thank you so much for making out time and sharing your story. Send our love to the family, and please send our love to Gray. He's in our prayers.
Thank you so much.
We look forward to speaking to him again as he goes through his journey. We might invite you again to share more things on how he's done. And both myself and my team will follow you on TikTok. That's where we can find you, Gathering Gray on TikTok. And
yes,
yeah, just to know how he's doing. And we're going to be part of this journey, one way or the other. Thanks again.
Thank you.
So on behalf of the BNS podcast, thank you. It's a wrap, guys. That's Dr. Darren's story and her parenting, Gray's brain injury. And it's been a journey, and I'm glad that you guys are now part of that story. On behalf of the podcast, we want to thank all our guests that join us every single weekend, like clockwork. Thank you for your support. Please don't forget to like, click, share, and get other people. The more people that come on board, the more we have better content to improve the work that we do. I hope this story has inspired you. Our famous 3 words: love, peace, and more grace. Thank you, and stay blessed. Bye.
Thank you.